Welcome to the only place where real, raw, and vulnerable conversations happen with IFBB bikini pros to give you an inside look at their struggles, strategies, mindset, passions, and all of life beyond the stage. This podcast is made to inspire, motivate, and remind competitors and the average gym goer that even the most extreme lifestyles and elite athletes have their ups and downs. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm your host, Celeste Rains-Turk, and now it's time for the Confessions of a Bikini Pro podcast. Today, we're speaking with a 2025 Olympia-qualified athlete who is an online fitness and posing coach from the UK, who's also been co-hosting a new podcast for Beyond the Stage YouTube channel geared towards bikini athletes. This athlete started competing in 2016, earned her pro card in 2019, and has done well over 40 shows. We don't know how many exactly. We were just talking about she's lost track. We don't know. She's going to sit down and figure that out eventually. So you guys probably will recognize her for so many reasons. Welcome to the show, KERRY SEXTON. How are you doing?
And thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be on here finally. I feel like we've been this up for like a couple of years now, but here we are. But yeah, I'm really good. How about you?
I'm doing amazing. I'm so happy you're here. Like I said, I really believe it's always in perfect timing. And in prepping our episode for today, I was looking back at my original prepped episode for you, and I was like, so much has changed in this woman's life, which is how it really is. Life goes that way, right? But it's amazing to have seen all the growth that you've had from a personal and professional and, of course, athlete level. So, you are someone I've been looking forward to have on for a long time because you're very real, you're genuine, and this show is really all about keeping things open and raw to connect us all on a deeper level. So, before we get into everything I've got planned, I've got to ask, is there something you do or think about or a ritual you have right before your heel hits the stage?
Oh, um, to be honest, the only thing I really think about is to breathe because I always find that our adrenaline can go so high. And I just always remember one show that I did where my dad said to me, "Kerry, it looked like you just ran on the stage and ran off." And that was in the lead up to actually turning pro, actually. I think it was like the second show out of six. So I did 6 in 8 weeks. It was the second one. And like
Wait,
I
you
was
did
so
6 shows in 8 weeks?
yeah, to turn
Girl.
pro. But I was under the illusion that we had to like get on and get off stage like we do. But from that point onwards, I've literally gone to myself before I get on stage. I'm like, you know what you're doing, you know the routine. All you need to think about is slowing it down. And I feel like that's been something that I've like finally been able to crack this year, which sounds crazy because obviously I have competed in so many shows, but I feel like as much as I've taken my time before, like the routine's always not that anyone else would know, but it's not been like the one I've practiced or something like that. So that's pretty crazy to be fair.
That
But
is.
it's something I do think about. Just slow down, breathe.
So you have gone on stage and done a routine that wasn't really the one that you practiced because you were too rushed.
Yeah.
No one would
So
ever know that.
many times, no, they wouldn't, would they? That's the good thing. And I suppose that's the thing about like back in the day, like I wouldn't have been able to like do that well. But I guess once you kind of learn to move and to pose, you can just kind of flow through any mistake, if that makes sense. So like,
Yes.
yeah, like me looking back at the video would be like, oh, why did I do that? But anyone else wouldn't. But I just know that like, yeah, I just know that I have made mistakes and I practice every single day. So yeah.
Even in your improvement season?
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. Always practicing, literally. Post every session. So not every day, because I train one day on, one day off. So it's post
Okay.
every I always go for a spin. Whether even if I'm like cut for time or something, I'll always just go for a quick spin anyway. I just think, yeah, that's something that I always do.
The biggest posing improvements I ever saw for me, as far as comfortability came, it was when I had taken time away from the stage, but I practiced posing every day, even when I gained like 30 pounds. I was still, because when you're higher in weight, a lot of people are nervous to practice posing. And you, as a posing coach, probably hear this a lot. Like, I haven't practiced because I don't look how I'm gonna look or how I want to look. But there's utility in putting your heels on, right?
100%. Like, yeah, it's a complete vibe. I just think as well, like if you're doing that off the back of like being lean, you can hold your mobility a little bit better as well.
Mm.
And function kind of can regress a little bit as the weight does go on. So I think like the more you can do it, the better that's going to then be heading into your prep essentially as well. So yeah, it definitely has a purpose more than what you look. I know even at the back of my like off season last year, I used to do it with a t-shirt on,
Yeah.
but like essentially take everything off and like, but it's just going through it, isn't it? And getting that kind of consistency and still visualizing it away from being in your heels as well, I think is really important. So yeah.
Oh, so true. You know what? Actually, I'm really glad that you said that because me personally, I have been struggling when I can't just get my posing suit on and my heels. And I'm like, well, why not just do it then in what you're wearing? Like, you don't have to, some days, even if that's the best you can do, it's still okay. So I love that you said that. And another thing that kind of stands out to me about it is when you're practicing, you're also visualizing outside of your practices. When you're coaching a girl in her posing routine, what are some of the visualization tips you're giving? Is it to think about the cues? Is it to see yourself on stage? Like, what's your recommendation?
And I think one of the biggest tips that I give is, and I never say like, they might look up to me, whatever, but I always say, choose someone that you look up to and like embody them. So let's pick Laura Lee, for example. If I told you now, okay, like I want to see you pose, pretend you're Laura Lee. There's no way you're going to be like a shy person that feels like an idiot, like, all those
Mm.
common things to why you might not want to pose. Um, if I literally said to you, life or death, go and pose like Laura Lee, you're going to. So I think visualize like someone that you look up to can really, really help. And as well, instead of like, like if you're posing, for example, hitting your pose and you're like, oh, I'm in my off season, I look chunky. Like, how is your flow going to be? It's not going to flow. You're not going to be positive. You need to be thinking like, as cocky as it may sound, you need to be thinking like, bitch, I'm here. I'm the shit. Like if I again told you to get up and say out loud or in your head, I'm the shit, I'm the shit, I'm the shit, and pose at me, you will display something completely different than if I was to tell you, like, just go and pose because you'd be like, oh, I look like a dick, or like, oh my God, I'm in my off season. Oh, this looks uncomfortable. So I think, yeah, trying to either be like embody someone else that you look up to who like doesn't mess up, oozes confidence, and just talking to yourself like positively. I think that's one of the biggest like confidence things I could probably think of when it comes to that.
That's such good advice. It actually reminds me of the UFC fighter Rose Namajunas. I believe that's how you say her name. Before
I
she,
did. No, I'm not going to pretend that I know.
that's okay. Girl, I barely know. But I know that before she went out there, she has this routine of like, I'm the best, I'm the best, I'm the best, I'm the best. And she repeats that over and over and over again. And I think there's a lot of value in I know there's a lot of value in how we speak to ourselves and embodying that.
The visualization thing as well. So when I competed with another federation as an amateur, I was on crutches. I won the British finals, but I was on crutches until the day before. So this was in 27. So I competed 2016 in June, and then June 2017, I won the UK British in another federation.
Mhm.
Um, and I visualized because I was on crutches how else could I like practice my posing? I couldn't, so I
Wow.
just had to visualize. And I remember my coach at the time saying like when I competed, wow, like your routine was really good. I've never seen you do that before, but I'd seen someone else do it and I liked it and I wanted to do it. And it like I visualized it and it happened.
Wow. Such a
Yeah.
good story and a true testament to the power of visualization. Like our body doesn't really know the difference. If we truly embody what we're visualizing, our
It,
body feels it's done it before.
yeah. It doesn't know, it can't define between what's real and what's imagined. It cannot. My
Yeah.
mindset could be like, yes, Kerry. And that's what he tells me as well. Like, there's no difference between what's real and what's imagined. So, yeah. Fake it till you make it kind of has.
Yeah. Did that mindset support you in achieving your goal of being Olympia qualified too? Because that was something you had been working towards for a long time.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I would say so. There was something about like there's been something about me that knew that I was always going to get there. And I think like at times when I like hashtagged like the Olympia dream and like, then like the year before, obviously I did come second, but in that same run, I still came like 12th and 8th and 7th. And I think people must have thought like this girl's like mental because she's not even like placing to be able to say like the
Mhm.
Olympia dream kind of thing. But I just always knew that like I love this sport so much and that everything we do for it. And I do love it always in my right mind, but I do struggle with PMDD. And I actually resent, I don't know if that's the right word. I can't be bothered to do the stuff that we need to
Yeah.
do of every single day. So that'd be one thing that I would say, like, I have to really drag myself, like it's exhausting to be honest, to do the things. And I really hate it because like, it happens every single month. And I love bodybuilding like so much, but then like I actually hate it quite often as well,
Yeah.
which sounds probably really, really nuts as well. But that is
No.
generally the way it is. And that's the same through competition prep. Like I remember like even at the Europa show that I did, where I came third last year, like Mark was even my partner was like, I didn't think you were gonna make it to show day
Wow.
because I go that it's that bad, to be honest.
What
Um
happens for you when you hit the PMDD stage? Like, are you getting really depressed? Are you getting like you don't want to eat? You don't like are you just moody? What's happening?
do anything. So like I just want to curl up in a ball, literally in a room by myself and not do anything. I can't be like literally this is how I'd word it to my coach as well. And she like understands and knows how to like work me. And the thing is, as much as I say I can't be bothered, there's no way I will ever not. So I might say like I can't
Yeah.
bother. Like it's like I'm on autopilot that I'm like, I can't be bothered to have my supplements. Like,
Right,
not
exactly.
happens. So, or I can't bother to drink my water, but I like do it anyway, or
Yeah.
can't bother with the gym. Like, but there is a massive like can't be botheredness. But I think it's more from general fatigue. Like I'm waking up at like 3:30 in the morning with like night sweats, nightmares. Heart is then like racing so hard that I'm like, I lay there and I'm like, go back to sleep, go back to sleep. No, cannot get back to sleep. Just gonna get up and go and work. But again, autopilot with work as well. It's classed as a disability to be honest,
Yeah.
but I think just the habits that I've built are the things that get me through, and it's always with intent still as well. I don't know how I do it sometimes, to be honest. I think Mark even would say the same. But again, I think it's trying to pull yourself out a little bit of that like depressive feeling, like the fatigue and the like anxiety, and just trying to realize that what choice you're going to make in that moment is going to affect your future. So I have to be quite like, just do it, just do it.
Yeah. That's so relatable. Like anytime I've faced these mental lows, the only thing that's really kept me going is the fact that all of this is a very natural choice for me. Like it's become second nature, first nature, really, like to wake up and do the things that it's almost saved me from myself in many ways because
Yeah,
purpose.
I completely agree. I generally I generally don't know if I would like, I hate to say it, but still be here because it gets that
Yeah.
low. Like there is suicidal thoughts. It is very deep.
Right.
I do generally think like, how would I do if I did not have this like purpose dragging me through like each day?
Mhm.
Quite scary to think about that, but thankfully we have the purpose. So
Yeah, definitely. And has there been times where it's taken you away from that purpose, like where maybe it's won in some aspect?
I think when was it? I don't know if it was last year or the year before. Um I wanted to quit prep. I wanted to quit prep last year, to be fair. Like whenever I go into PMDD, I'll always get a bit like um I won't see like my physique in the light it is, or like I won't see anything as like positive, or it'll be like prep's hard. And I'm like, this is hard now, and I've only just like started prep, but it's only hard because of this thing. But I think what was it? My dad said to me once before, like I was like, I don't think I can do this prep. I want to say it was last year. I'll have to ask him later, but I think it was last year. And he said to me, look, if you don't prep, this thing is going to be here. If you do prep,
Mm.
this thing is going to be here. And so I'm like, so whenever I do think like, oh, maybe this is too much for me, maybe this is too much for me, I'm like, it's going to be here anyway. It's going
Wow.
to be here anyway. It's not, like quite often people will say to me like, oh, like is it because of it affects your hormones? No, essentially like it's actually better a little bit. I still get all the symptoms when my cycle does go, because I don't have so much of the peaks and troughs of the hormones, because like my hormones are like bang on. Like now they are literally bang on. Meg was really really surprised with my last blood work actually, um to as to like how close I was post show to how good they are kind of thing, which is
Yeah.
great. But most people think it's like to do with your hormones. So like, oh, prep makes your hormones worse. Like that makes PMDD worse. No, it's really not. It's actually a brain disorder. So it's not like my hormones have something up. My hormones are great. Hormones are fine. It's just my brain cannot handle the peaks and troughs of it. Something to do with like all serotonin and dopamine and stuff like that. So
It's a mood
yeah,
disorder. It's not a hormonal disorder.
exactly. So yeah, so essentially sometimes when I am at the back end of prep, it can make things, I guess, a little bit easier because I haven't got so much of the peaks and troughs that you would get when your cycles are
Mhm.
good. So,
Yeah, I hear that.
which is crazy, right?
Yeah, well, it's very relatable. I've been dealing with a lot of mental health things myself in the last, well, for my entire life, but actually tackling a lot of them head on. I'm not sure I'm ready to talk about it just yet, but I can relate so much to what you're saying. And bodybuilding has just made such a huge difference in my life. I think, okay, the last 10 years I've dealt with this, and then years and years before. So, like what your dad said, it's going to be here irregardless. That rings so true. It's like, okay, would I rather have that and not be pursuing my passions and purpose, or just, have that and pursue them? And I'm like, I'd rather have it and pursue.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. Yes, I think it saved a lot of people. I can
Mhm.
speak to my food relationship, to be honest, as well. Like some people may say theirs has gone like the other way, and not improved, but mine has improved drastically. Like, for example, like even sitting here right now, looking at the time, thinking like, oh, I've got another couple of meals. Like I always thought, like when I first started out this sport, my food relationship wasn't great. I had bulimia, things like that. And I always thought I was going to spend my whole life thinking about food and hungry all the time. But like if you literally left me to my own device right now, and like I didn't have like a meal plan or something like that, I wouldn't be thinking about food, and I'm just cool. Like we've got things in the house like for Mark's kid or whatever, or so we've had some cookies since like December, like when he competed, in the freezer. They're still in the freezer. Old
Yeah,
me would have binged hard on those, but now it's like I'm cool. I'm cool around food. I can go out like I'm just fine.
that's
So
amazing.
that's a big, big turning point for me, as well, to be honest. And I think people were like my close people were like worried about what the sport would
Mhm.
do in that
Yeah.
instant. fast to that because of how I was at like the time. And not all of it. It wasn't like I started bodybuilding and I was fixed, but the drive to be better. You cannot be better without eating food and nutrient dense food and
So
like,
true.
like adhering to your plan. And I think if you can adhere to a plan post show for the first like 6 to 8 weeks, the hunger drops off so quickly. And then all of a sudden you are that person that's like, freaking out, what I eat again, like or your calories, like my calories are 3,000 now, and I'm like, don't take them up. Like you cannot, because I literally like I'm gonna be sick after meal one now. So
Yeah.
amazing how things change. Whereas like back in the day, I was in like a bit of a like binge cut cycle, and my hunger never like stabilized, and like it wasn't
Right.
as spoke about on social media back in 2016 and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Still like coming off the back of an ED as well, so it's like not great. And I think the binge cycle never like regulated me post show. So then going into a show was almost a bit of like a cover up until I was
Yeah.
like, look, I can't do this anymore. There has to be another way. Otherwise, I cannot compete in this sport. And that's then gradually, since I would say 2019, probably would be the turning point where like the binging stopped, the like being more health conscious and like not
Mm.
just to be lean, but to be healthy out the other side was more of a drive.
Yes.
And then with that, as you do that over time and it becomes like a second or first nature, it's then like not a thing really anymore
Totally.
without binging or stuff like that. So yeah, the bodybuilding's definitely changed my life. 100%.
I love to hear stories like that too, because sometimes there's a feeling of hopelessness for people who are facing those struggles and or even a demonization of bodybuilding, although I don't think
Very
bodybuilding's really not to blame. And when I have clients who come to me for their food relationship, I'm like, you don't have to choose between your mental health and bodybuilding. You can have both. And I think your perspective is really key as well. It shouldn't be this huge pendulum from one to the next. We if we can keep it pretty close, improvement season and prep, as far as our behaviors and habits go, where okay, in improvement season, sure, maybe you're having a cookie when you want to have a cookie, or you go on a trip and you're prepping most of your meals, but you guys go out once or twice. Like that's very sustainable. And then the only thing that really has to change for prep is you don't have the cookie unless it's completely tracked or your meal is complete. And it makes it so easy. And when you said that 6 to 8 weeks post show adhering to your plan makes a huge difference, I totally attest to that as well. I think if you can reverse into your show and you can follow that post show diet, maybe even if it's 90-10, even if it's not 100%, that's 90% is still going to get you so far with the 8 weeks post show. Like you said, your calories will be so high, you'll feel so strong in the gym. You kind of get this fresh life in your body from nourishing yourself and from okay, the cardio is coming down, so now you're recovering better. Things just start flowing so much. So yeah. Oh, go
yeah.
ahead.
I think like one of my biggest like tips for post show as well is probably the opposite to like what people would do, but almost like punish yourself with not going to the gym and not doing cardio.
Mm.
Not done cardio since probably August. I've not done it since. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it post show. Like I don't want to do it post show. It's not on my plan to do it, but I almost punish myself with not going to the gym for like week and a half, 2 weeks.
Mm.
And that then makes me adhere even more to the food that I'm meant to be eating because I know I'm not gonna burn it off in the gym.
Right.
I don't have time to do that. And I would much rather have my steps and run a deload week, like have my steps bottom out, like low, 4K, like minimal, and just eat the food and get the sleep and let my hunger then
Yes.
regulate properly instead of getting off stage and going, I'm going to smash legs tomorrow. Like, yeah, but why are you doing that? Is it because you've consumed food that you now feel guilty for? So you're going to smash yourself. Then your body's tired. Then you want to eat more food. Then you're going to pull back a little bit because you've eaten more food. Then that cycle begins. So I think almost, and this actually goes back to probably 2017 when one of my coaches, I cheated my diet, and she said, great, you've cheated your diet, you're not doing cardio tomorrow, and you're not taking away calories. And I was like, oh my God, like that was worse to me. I was like, oh my God, like that's worse. Like I want to go and do more cardio. But really it was like, no, you were hungry, like, yeah, you're hungry on prep, but like your body needed a refeed. And now you're gonna go in and sort of like undo that refeed kind of thing.
Yep.
Burn yourself out again and probably do it again. We're not getting into that cycle. Like, yeah. So I think that's where that's kind of stemmed from. But I do really like to do it like that, to be fair.
Are you a competitor looking to make mental gains and further your personal development? Are you struggling with the post show blues or feeling the pressure of prep? Maybe you're lost somewhere in the middle and not sure what's next. If you really want to make peace with food, your body, and your goals, then I highly recommend you check out my competitor card deck, which can be found at www.celestial.fit/cards. This is a free resource for competitors, and the deck includes 3 different series. One is affirmations and I am statements, another is the thought-provoking question prompts that you could journal on or just think about, and the last deck includes action steps with specific mentorship that is going to support you in those areas of which I just mentioned. So whether you're looking to feel better in your own skin, develop a healthier relationship with food, feel more motivated, connect deeply with yourself, or really get into your mindset to bring you closer to your goals, then these cards are for you, and I would love to see you utilizing them. Again, you can visit www.celestial.fit/cards to download yours right away. Yeah, I think that's great. Basically, when you add in more cardio or you take away food, you're reinforcing the behavior of binging because you're saying, it's okay because I can go do this. So to have that option taken away, you're more likely to engage with a behavior that's truly most nourishing. And when you give yourself permission to rest, to recover, you'll make choices that align with what will support you in resting and recovering. And I think post show, like listening to your body's key, right? Sometimes you do feel like getting up in the morning and going for a walk, but I wouldn't be smashing legs the next day because your body's so vulnerable post show. You just spent a day kind of in an adrenaline state, getting ready to go on stage. You were probably drinking water, but timing it with your stage time, along with like your digestion is potentially off because even though you're probably eating consistently, your coach might have looked at you and been like, let's add X amount of salt. Let's take away this. And so there's been a lot of pressure. And I think taking some time to just reset is really good. And you obviously have so much experience on stage and you've made a lot of improvements over the years too. And now you're Olympia qualified. So take us back to you doing the 6 shows over the course of 8 weeks. And in 5 of those shows, you won your high class, but you hadn't won overall, which is what actually inspired you to keep going. And then prior to that, you had won 15 shows across the world as an amateur, including 2 British titles starting in 2016. And then when it was time for your pro debut, you took last place, but then you cracked the top 10 in the next 2, which is what you were talking about earlier. Like if someone had looked at it on paper, they might have said she's crazy for wanting to go to the Olympia or thinking she will. But what has been your maybe driving force? Is it that it supports your mental health or what's been your motivation over the years to go pro and then go qualify for the Olympia?
I think like I always saw like the Olympia as like a goal, and obviously there's only one route to get there.
Yeah.
So that's why I went from like the other federations to the like NPC. Um I took my time with that. I didn't think I was good enough to do so. And so I didn't compete with them probably when I still probably could have turned pro essentially, I reckon. But I just didn't think I was like good enough, so I just kind of didn't. And there's always been quite a lot of doubt from like others more so than anything throughout my whole journey. Like I've literally had people laugh in my face telling me like you'll never win an amateur show, you'll never qualify for the Olympia, you're following in Mark's steps, like things like that. I've
Mhm.
literally like that. But I think with the 6 shows in 8 weeks, um I just started to really love bodybuilding at this point. I was 2 years into like bodybuilding and I just loved bodybuilding and I just
Yeah.
thought like maybe I could be good at this. Maybe I could like do things with business in this and travel the world and like everyone thought I was delusional, to be fair, but I guess like it was a crazy thing to do. Like I, dropped hours at work and stuff to be able to sleep more, to recover, to grow more and stuff like that. My mum
Yeah.
and dad would be like, my God, like you just left another job because you want to sleep more. And I'm like, yeah, I need to recover. Like it's going to be my future. It's crazy. But yeah, the 6 shows in 8 weeks, I just wanted to turn pro. I just wanted to turn pro. I had a pro card in the other federation, but I knew it wasn't the pro card that's the most, how do you put it?
Prestigious?
Yeah, prestigious, the best. And yeah, that's what kind of kept me going. And once because I kept winning, I just kept looking at what's next, what's next, what's next. The judges were like, "You're close. Oh, keep going. You'll get it." Like that kind of
Oh,
vibe. But ended up doing 6 shows in 8 weeks. And yeah, and a lot of people were even saying to my coach at the time, like, why is she still going? But like, how
huh.
can you not getting first place in your height class? Like, how can you not want to keep
Yeah.
going? So that was literally the like driving force. And then before I turned pro in Iceland, that show, that 2 weeks on the lead up to that was like the hardest
Huh.
ever. Wanted to quit and my dad was like,
Yeah.
nah, like you can't quit, you won't quit. And luckily
What
like
was different?
just been on prep for a long time, like
Okay.
amateur, I wasn't getting paid that much from my sponsor at the time. So like funding it all when you're going across like different countries was pretty difficult. And it was just hard. I just think my body was so tired. My mind was tired. I'd never done anything like that, like pushing from show to show. And I think, yeah, but I'm really glad I did. And that weekend was special because I actually met Mark in Iceland as well. So turned pro, met Mark,
Oh,
went through like all in one weekend. So it was like a great weekend to be fair. So I'm really glad I did keep up with that.
yeah, that is so awesome. And you've mentioned Mark a few times. So, to those who don't know, that's your boyfriend of 5 years now, right? You just celebrated 5. That's amazing. And he competes too. And before we started recording, we were talking about your recent celebration trip, your anniversary. So, how does how does living with another competitor look, and how has that affected your relationship and life as a whole?
I think it's just like strengthened us. We just want the same thing. Like for like I want what I've just got, achieving the Olympia like qualification, I want that for him. So like
Mhm.
everything we do, literally everything we do from day to day just kind of surrounds that. Like when we nap, we go to bed at like 8:30. We used to look at it like it was a bit of a sacrifice, like, oh, we're going to bed at 8:30, like we don't get to spend that much time together. We're like, nah, we want to be elite athletes. Like it's not a sacrifice. This is like how we choose to do it. And we just need to be super organized in the evening. So then we can always sit down at 7 p.m., switch our phones off, watch TV, eat our last meal together, have a chat like before we go to sleep and stuff like that. And we do spend like quality time together every single night. It's like a must do thing, away from our phones. Like we don't sit there with them just out kind of thing, or
Yeah,
anything. And I think
responding to clients and doing emails and
it's really important. We've had times where that has stepped like back and like that's crept in, but then we've quickly said like, why has that happened? What are we not doing that we can do better
Mhm.
for us not to have to sit there and do that at that time because we're taken away from ourselves. But like, yeah, we always go out for like coffee and um go out for meals and stuff like once a week for our off season, whether that's literally like getting a meal and coming back here and just having it here, or whether it's going out. We decided not to go on holiday this year, because he's massive. He's a massive open bodybuilder, and
Uh-huh.
it's very taxing. Like even driving 45 minutes down the road and like prepping a day's worth of food is taxing. And he's starting prep in like I think 8 or 9 weeks, I want to say. So it's just not optimal for us to do that. But this year is very important to us. Like he wants to achieve his qualification. I want to place inside the top 10 at the Olympia, like all these things. And that's going to come with some level up. Like it has to, it can't not at this point, not with the standards of the sport. And so the way we kind of drive our relationship is, yeah, it's like just helping each other out with things, whether it's making the supplements or doing something. I know if one of us is like working and the other one is training earlier or something like that, then like I don't know, we just navigate tasks and
Yeah.
kind of like that. There's never like any like arguments if one of you hasn't like made the supplements or something. It's like, oh no, like how can I help? Let me do this because you look like
Mhm.
you're busy. Like, it's just very calm. He supports me a lot with my PMDD, which is great. Gives me a perspective. Like when I say like my scale weight's gone up or I feel like this, he'll be like, yeah, but this is why. This is why. And like he's been great with the recent injuries that I've had because he's had injuries for like 2.5, 3 years himself, which nearly ended his career.
Mhm.
So he's been very, very supportive in like be patient with it, keep working through it. Like remember what I did. I could only side lateral raise to here, and now look at my shoulders. So it's kind of like okay, okay. So it's been a big inspiration to me, really. But yeah, it's not ever made our relationship like negative in any way, ever. Not even like when I turned pro, when I got my qualification, for
Yeah.
example, was no like jealousy. It was just pure happiness for me, and happy that I got it before him because of the comments we had had from other people
Yeah.
before. So yeah, it's solid to be fair.
Oh, that's really sweet. It sounds like you guys are on the same page and moving together, growing together, improving together consistently. And you recently faced an injury and it's caused you to feel like you haven't been getting the most out of this improvement season. So tell us more about that
Yeah.
and what happened and then how it's affected you.
So I had a scan on my back and it was showing that I had like herniated discs, like three of them. And so essentially it just kind of stopped. Like I was in pain and that's why I went for it.
Yeah.
That's why I went for the scan. And yeah, basically I just the first so if we like roll back, I think I'm like 15 or 14 weeks post show now. But the first, as soon as I stepped off stage after that, I came straight back, like stayed awake all night from show day morning, all night, came back, drove Mark straight to physio because he was 2 weeks out, which is like a 6 hour round trip for us.
Wow.
Um, drove straight there, then like came back, and then it was very much like looking after him, making sure everything was ready for him and getting everything sorted. Then like my body weight was just dropping even though my calories were like up. Obviously I wasn't training or anything like that, but still I was like just quite like busy
Busy.
trying to look after him and then booked to be in Alicante for his show and like etc etc. So like I felt like that those 2 weeks directly post show were kind of like obviously lost because I rest, but well I rested kind of. But also then post him competing, we then stayed in Alicante for like a little bit of like a holiday. So that was more time like gone. And then I got
Mm.
back well. And so that was then more time gone and just kind of doing minimal when I was better. And then my back. So it was like one thing after another. It
Right.
went from high to like just slam down low, you know. Then I went like trying to like take movements out. I was still training and like
Mhm.
my heart isn't like I mean my not hard is probably other people's hard, if that makes
Got
sense.
you.
So like
Mhm.
I have made progress. Like I can look on here and say, I've made progress and I'm really happy with the progress. And I'm mind blown to the fact that I've made that much progress. So it just goes to show how much you can make even when you're not 100%. But by adhering to everything that like you can do really does help. But yeah, this just kind of continued and I tried to find like help and then I did and then I got told like um to get the scan, then the herniated disc thing. And then it was just like, then I think I got hit by a PMDD and like we have to
Oh,
reduce it anyway. So it's all a bit of a mess. And slowly but surely, I worked with someone, had to then like find someone else to work with because I just didn't feel like things were right. Um, and then we've manipulated like training and changed things. We've worked out where my pain is like coming from. A lot of it is pretty common in bikini. It's through the hips and not in get which I work on core
mhm,
engagement. So I'm just like mind blown to how it's not, but it hasn't been like working properly, should we say.
hmm,
Um, and my form on like video clips and everything is like it looks perfect. Like I've worked really hard with Meg to get things in such a good spot. So
yeah.
it's almost like, oh my God, like how has this happened? But I think it was like a past thing because I used to train like a bit of a idiot, just lifting really, really heavy weights
Yeah.
for my and probably well no definitely not with great form. So yeah, and then we kind of just got to um a point now where the last 2 weeks I've been working with someone from Australia. We've kind of figured out what is wrong with it and what's kind of causing it and stuff, so we've been able to really like adapt, but we've been able to now make Meg's now made a training program um that I can go in to the gym and now train properly. I had to sort of make a decision because we're like, this isn't going to go. What I've got is not going to go. We need to be smart with it. But also, like, I can't afford to be out of the gym anymore because I've got like 10 and a bit weeks left. I cannot afford to be out of the gym. So, as much as we know what movements kind of caused it, they're the movements that don't cause me back pain in the
Mm,
moment. Whereas the movements like RDLs and like stuff like that are actually like more movements that are going to help with what I've got because they're not causing the tightness
yeah.
in like hips and stuff. Whereas abduction and things like that are. Sorry if this is going to like technical whatever now.
No, no.
But them two movements especially do not hurt in the moment. Now, the other movements were just getting frustrated. Like, I was just getting like frustrated and just wanted to like leave the gym, getting in a bad mood, like bad chemicals, bad vibes, especially with PMDD. Like, you test me a little bit, it's like I just will cry or like want to walk out or something. So, we got to a point like 2 days ago where we said, like, okay, we're going to have to do all the mobility on the off day. So, on the rest day. Um, but essentially, we don't have any time now to be messing around with trying to get this movement right and
Mm,
practically like not lifting any weight. And like we haven't regressed with your physique, but if you keep going, you're going to see a regression. So right now, and I've just put it to the person that's helping me today, I've made the decision to go in with the abduction, to go in with the hip thrust, the one that essentially is causing me the hips to like move into the wrong position and
mm,
tighten up my quad, tighten up this. And now I'm just going to mitigate it around that. So essentially train them the wrong way and then mobility them the right way, just to
I
keep things
see.
just don't have any mental time now. Like I've seen we've made progress. I've seen we've not regressed. And I'm like, I'm not willing to spend more time here now. I've tried for over 10 weeks. And that's not great putting it out there. Like it's not great. And it's probably like a bit weird to some people. But at the top of sports, sometimes there's a push and a pull. And I think that's what I now need to do for me to be able to step on the Olympia stage and not have this extreme like guilt if I was not to achieve what I want to achieve.
Mm,
I didn't achieve it and carried on the way I am, I would be like, oh, it's because of that, it's because of that, it's because of that. Whereas I can't. So that's where I'm at right this second, which is
yeah.
pretty lucky. But Meg used to be a GB diver, so she dived for Great Britain for like years. And she said to me that's pretty much how it was in the GB squad. Like if you had an injury, you navigate around it. Doesn't mean you're completely pulled out of training. You're still pushed to be your best. And I think that's why you see so many like Olympians, and mainly the men, I think, to be fair, like who have torn this and
Right.
ruptured that, done this, and but they're Mr. Olympia still because they pushed through. Are we going to pay for it down the line? Who knows? But I'm gonna do my best to keep the balance, as you say, and try and pull
Yeah.
them the other way after I've pushed them back the other way. So yeah.
I think that's probably the best thing you can do. I remember the same thing in volleyball days. It was like, okay, that aggravated it. So after that, you got to go do this. And it was that push pull. And in competing, I think every athlete faces some resistance with an injury. Like there's something that comes up. And it can be difficult to push through that, but you've tried your best. And I think now you're navigating it in the best way that you can for the goals that you have. It'll be really exciting to see you continue to make progress as a result of that, too.
Leave it in my whole heart. And I trained now the last 3 days with the movements that like I shouldn't do. And I've had banging sessions. It's been great.
Good.
I put the load on, I've been angry, I've gone in there and got the job done. And now I'm like, hell fucking yeah. Like what can we do over this next 11 weeks? Seen as like the past 14 weeks have been like that, but we've still made mad progress. Like what can be
Mhm.
done? So that's exciting to me. And that does give me like a lot of confidence because like I say, I'm happy with where I'm at already. So yeah.
Yeah, that is so awesome. And, obviously you've become and you are a very competitive athlete. And last season was the best, as you've shared, like to the point of disbelief when you look at your photos. And is there anything you feel made it your best? Like what do you think contributed to that?
Hmm. I don't know. I just always knew in the back of my head that it was gonna happen. And then obviously my first show I placed eighth. So I was like, whoa. Second show was 12th. Whoa. And then I was like, I'm not done because I still had one more show planned, which was the Europa. By this point, I was like leaner, I was less nervous, I was in my stride, which always seems to
Hmm.
be a thing. And even like, the essentials that you pack on show day and all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff, a bit more like natural. And then placing third in front of Tyler, I was like, okay,
it's really
like
good.
yeah, I was like, wow, like this is really good seeing as I've just come 12th in America. Like, and again, it's a different pool of people, but I still don't feel like because you could argue that like, okay, well, yeah, she's qualified for the Olympia, but she's not done well in the States. However, I've not presented the same like from the Europa
Mhm.
onwards. My physique was where it should have been in the States, 100%. So I had the same judge. So the judge that kept placing me second was Maz. He also
Mm.
placed um 12th in America. And he's told me
Interesting.
difference in physique. So I think knowing that is like a nice thing. If it was like
Yes.
a different two different judges in America and then like all different judges across Europe, I'd be
So
like,
true.
but because it was him who kept placing me second, I was like, okay, hearing what he said about me in America, it's just I was a completely different person. So I still don't think I've taken like my best to the States to be compared. So
Yeah, that's a great point. Like that variable of was controlled where you could get that feedback. And are you planning on competing in the US before the Olympia?
yeah, yeah, I'm gonna do like three shows, I think. Yeah. So
Awesome.
I haven't even picked which ones yet. I just know I'm gonna do three prior.
Are
That's
you gonna do them like
I, I'm really
close?
bad at yeah, I picked them like, oh, let's go next week. I'm really bad like that. No, we will plan it. We will plan it. I want to look at like which judges are where, and get in front of like Sandy and all like the bigger kind of judges. And there's going to be more like elite people at those shows. So I'm really excited to like, yeah. And this feels actually today exciting to talk about because I'm not going to lie, it does feel like it's been a bit of a like, and now I
Yeah.
feel like, yeah, like, and I'm 3 days away from being on my cycle. And I've managed PMDD a lot better.
Amazing.
These like changes and just yeah. So yeah, I am actually really, really excited. Whereas I think if you'd probably asked me a month ago, it would have been like, yeah,
We'll
like
see.
yeah. Whereas now I feel a bit more like, okay, yeah, this is freaking exciting. So that's nice.
You brought up a good point about the UK and the United States, and I want to get into that too. But first and foremost, it's awesome to hear that you're managing the PMDD better and also that you're feeling excited for the season ahead again, because you to go from such a high of like finally achieving a dream to then a low of like having to navigate a whole new situation to make the most of it is really, I mean, that's awful to go through.
It's been horrible. Like, I don't know if you saw, but like even like I had to do a Q&A on my story to get me back talking on my stories. I'm
Yeah.
someone dude, like I'm so normal at like speaking on my stories, and it's just even that slipped off because what I'm gonna tell, hi guys, yeah, today I had another shit session, yeah, like oh, I tried
Exactly.
and like there's only so much like people do want to hear that, but like not every single day, and
Yeah.
so that got quite difficult, and then yeah, so
Well, then because it starts to feel like that might become your normal and
yeah.
you don't want it to. So it's like you avoid it in a sense because you're working so hard for that to change and you're like trying to get back to where you were. And when there's that unknown or I don't know if I will, it could be hard to share that.
Literally, yeah, yeah, exactly.
So the UK and the United States, I've been dying to know from a coach's perspective, when you coach women in the UK, are you coaching them to be competitive in the UK? Or because we can recognize, although the criteria is the same, sometimes it's
It's just
different? So how do you navigate preparing someone to be great and be able to then also be competitive in America?
again, I think it's like you have to take so many things into consideration, I think, don't you? Like who's the judge? Like
Mhm.
some
Yeah.
people to like trend more on like a more mass, more leaner kind of opinion, whereas some people don't. um
Yeah.
so essentially, yeah, it is more of a like it obviously is a fine line of getting things right, but like I would say you probably do err on like a different side as you would if you were if I had a client competing here versus this like versus sending her to the States, you'd probably be manipulating the look, put it that way.
Hmm.
So I
That makes
do think
perfect sense.
it's just like maybe I don't know why it is. Obviously, a judge can only judge what's in front of them.
Right.
Uh, Today. And I guess there's not like, like your Amy, Laurel's, Ashley, people like that. They're not here in the UK and stuff like that. Um, in the pro shows for the comparisons to be made like against that. So
Mhm.
just seems to be more of like a leaner thing, which is interesting because there are some girls that aren't. Like even at like my show that I won, like Romania, it was 32 people. Like, and I was sharp at that show.
Yeah.
Uh, I was, and I can't take that look to the States. And
So interesting.
was girls that were softer than me, of course there was. But did they have? I don't know the shape, the set, like structure, the full package. I don't know. It still blows my mind that I won that show. So,
You're so
um,
humble about
it still blows my mind, like how I don't know. But anyway, I don't know. But yeah, it is an awkward one, isn't it? There is some
it.
difference. It is.
Yeah, so I've always wondered about that for the UK athletes who have the desire to come and compete in America. It seems that they have to change the package they bring, like you said.
But then I wasn't lean enough in the States.
Hmm.
I wasn't lean enough in the States. But
So weird.
is that you could also look at it in the sense of did I have enough muscle mass? Because I had to be lean for the muscle mass to like
So
show it.
true.
Um, yeah, so it's kind of like, okay, cool. So now this year, we might have, well, we've definitely made improvements. I've never seen photos like compared like that. It's mind blowing. But now is it a question of like, cool, have we got the density that we can now bring a bit more of the fullness and still see the glute and
Mhm,
hamstring sitting like nearly 5 kg above stage weight,
mhm.
and there's still a full glute and ham tighten. So I'm like, okay.
That's
Whereas
amazing.
that before at 58, it would be like, oh, it's starting to come through. So it's kind of like, okay. So yeah, it is interesting. Like, really, do they have more mass that they can come in a bit fuller and softer?
Yeah, I have no idea. Honestly, it's so strange, like how the differences are and seeing the athletes all next to each other. But you have changed your physique dramatically over the years, irregardless. And remember in the past, you had mentioned like your leg development and training was changing because your quads were like bigger than ever, and you had to like tone down how much you train them, even though you loved training them, just so you could meet the bikini criteria better. So did you ever consider switching out of bikini so you could train without limitations? No, you're like, no, no, definitely not.
Even now, would you believe I literally train, so I train probably two, I think I have like 3 sets of like hamstring curl. Everything is glute dominant.
Yeah.
Um, like today I did glutes and 2 sets, sorry, of rear delts. Um, I literally have like barely any upper in, I don't train calves,
Wow.
I train like, so before I can't tell you because it's literally changed like yesterday. But before it had changed, I literally had like, I think it was like 5 sets of side lat raises,
Yeah.
side lat in like one day on, one day off. So two of those, so I had 4 sessions. Two of them were full like glutes, and the other two had like just 2 sets of a row and 2 sets of lateral raises.
You're just like
So
touching everything.
which is wild because I'm seeing people like at the top doing everything.
Right.
But I yeah, it is wild. But my physique doesn't need that. And I train in a different way to these people. Um, I feel. So yeah,
It's such
it's
a weird mind game when you see that too, because like this past improvement season, my main focus has been on upper body because like my feedback was that the shape is there, the conditioning is great, but I need more upper body, I need more muscle everywhere, but especially upper. And as bikini, like you have to have symmetry. And so like if I keep pushing my glutes, then my upper body still won't catch up. So it's like that fine line of but then I'm seeing other people who have like they train a certain way and I'm like they look better than me, but I'm not supposed to do that because I still need this balance. It's weird.
it is difficult. It is really, really difficult, but I've just trusted the process, trusted going through like having every single set broken down and understanding the movement patterns better, which I've seen the results of even with my own clients, and training properly, like to be fair. And I think that's what changed my physique in a good way. I have intent, understanding of why I'm moving from A to B. Um, that's a big thing that helps as well. And that's probably why I have got to that level. But then it'll be interesting to see in the States against these people, did we make the right call or not? Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, you look incredible. All of your updates are awesome to see, and you've clearly made improvements. So I'm excited to see how that looks for this season. And I want to be respectful of your time. So I'd like to ask for your best advice now. So, what is your best advice for someone who has never competed before but wants to? And then your best advice for someone on their road to pro?
So for someone that, what did you say, wants to compete that
Wants to
hasn't,
compete but hasn't. Yeah.
go for it. Go for it. Get a coach. Ignore the comments. People are going to think you're mad. People are not going to understand. Don't explain yourself. You don't really have to. Yes, to the people that are close to you. Don't explain why you're taking your Tupperware out. Just do it if you need to. And just kind of lean on your coach and like try and make friends in the industry. Will make you feel a little bit more normal at first, until it becomes your normal. But just don't be held back by what you see now, because you might think that you don't have the genetics, but you don't know that until you put in time, and then you'll see your genetic potential. And that could be quick for someone, and it could be 10 years for someone else. So, yeah,
Such
if you enjoy it, then just wait and see what happens.
amazing.
Someone that is um turning pro or is chasing an Olympia qualification or something like that, don't let one show define you.
Mm,
Simply not let one show, good or bad, define you. So even me with this, for example, that don't define me as a champion. It's everything I do around that that does. So like be grateful for the journey and what you're learning, and don't get complacent like when you do make it, essentially, because shows are forgotten about. And
so
you move on.
true.
And also, if you don't place or you come like dead last, like I did in my pro debut, again, shows come and go. Like it's forgotten about. Like it's you that remembers it. It's going to give you that extra push in the gym to do the extra reps, to not want to feel like that ever again. But again, like me competing next year, like I don't know, will I place 12th again? But will
Mm,
that show define me? I've already like shown that one show doesn't define you. What if I'd stopped there and just said, that's it, I can't do it anymore? But I didn't. I kept going. So everyone else can do that too. Everyone.
that's such great advice. And I'm so glad that you shared that. And you are an example of that too. And I want everybody to be able to follow your journey, even consider working with you. So, how can they do that?
So my Instagram handle is Kerry Sexton underscore IFBB Pro. You'll find me on Instagram. I reply to every single DM. I don't have anyone that works for me or anything like that. So it's really me. Um, and I have, if you click the link in my bio, if you didn't want to go through DMs, you want to go through email, then onto WhatsApp, you can find my type form um, in my link tree, and you can just reach out to me there. We can arrange a call, and I can get to know you, you get to know me, and that's how we do things, and that's how the magic's made. So yeah, that's where you'll find me.
Perfect. Well, we'll put that in the show notes page. You guys, that's always on celestial.fit/podcast. If you're listening right away, it'll be at the top of the page. If you're listening in the future, scroll down to the alphabetized category section. Not only will you find how to connect with us, but you'll also see a full episode summary, a bulleted list of the topics we covered, as well as episode timestamps. So you can share this with your teammates, your friends, your family, let them know what resonated with you. And tag us as you listen or after you listen. Let us know what you thought. It always goes a long way for the show, but even further for the athletes. They come on here and share so openly and vulnerably, like Kerry did. So, thank you again, Kerry, for your time.
I just want to say a big thank you to you as well. What amazing.
Aw,
It's truly an honor to be on it. So thank you.
thank you for that. Seriously, it was my pleasure. And to everybody listening, I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day, night, or morning, wherever you are in the world while you're listening to this episode. Just make it awesome.